you have worked in 40 years of practicing law. You've worked as a government attorney in law firms of all sizes, taught law school, and now in your small firm practice, you herself a small business owner. You are Joryn, sorry, I lost everything. Joryn is the pioneer and champion of the collaborative divorce process and the author of 7 books, including I Never Saw My Father Again, The Divorce Court Effect, and War of Peace, Avoid the Destruction of Divorce Court. I am a child of divorce, Joryn. You're speaking my language. How were you inspired to go into this path that you're on of kind of changing?
It's everyone's language. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who has not been touched somehow by a divorce. Most of the time by your own divorce or that of your parents. I mean, it's so prevalent. But it's funny because for a long time in my practice, I never intended to be a lawyer. I went to law school because I graduated from college without a clue, and I was 19 years old. And my stepdad said, "Go to law school, it's a great education." And while I was there, I had so many interesting experiences working in small law firms that I decided, oh yeah, I kind of like this. And then as a lawyer, really what I loved doing was making new law. But then when I started my own firm, people would send me these divorce cases, and that's not what I did. I did commercial litigation, I did partnership disputes, I did employment disputes, all of those types of business related litigation, and I loved going to court. And then I started representing families, and families don't belong in court. They just don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, I did my first collaborative divorce in 2002, and it was a normal divorce. It was nothing, I did a couple of them and they were not inspiring. But then in 2009, I saw magic. And when you see magic happen between people who have decided that they want to end the other's life if they can,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden now somehow we've managed to help them speak the same language and communicate again. When someone comes out of their divorce saying, "I became a better person," how do you do that? What did you do that helped them think, now I learned something in my divorce? I had a wife who, we started the divorce and she ran crying out of our conference room saying, "My husband never listens to me. He never hears me. He doesn't understand me. This will never work." And I got her back in. And when we finished that case 3 months later, her big comment was, "I learned to listen to my husband again." And I don't think she remembered that she was the one saying, "He never listens to me."
Right.
And now she's telling me, "I learned to listen to him again." It just sounds different when someone else in the room says the same thing he says. You hear differently if someone else is telling you the same thing. And so the collaborative process itself is very inspiring, but my families are very inspiring. The people who come to me, people like Pat, you hear those types of stories all day long, and your heart aches for people. And what can you do to help? So my mantra changed. I'm not here to make new law. I'm here to change the way the world gets divorced. As Holly said, one family at a time.
Wow. I really love the idea of changing the way the world gets divorced. And I watched the video of yours where you said now the process is that the lawyers kind of throw gasoline on this already raging fire. And in my experience, I've seen that. And then you have, kids getting up to testify and having to choose a parent. And it gets, it's gnarly and traumatizing. And it's just so bad for everyone. What do you do differently? And what do you think needs to be done differently just overall to make this better for people?
That's interesting. We'll be presenting later in the week on collaborative divorce, which, it's not for everyone. Don't get me wrong. It's a more expensive process. It's not nearly as expensive as going to court, but if you're already on good terms with your soon-to-be ex, then you probably don't need that. And I represent a lot of folks where all we do is prepare the paperwork for them, or, you know, mediate with their ex, or sit and mediate between the two of them. Or, you know, there are a lot of, I really believe in courtless, whatever it is, don't go to court, because the minute you hire a lawyer, this is a horrible thing to say, I'm a lawyer, but lawyers are, you know, the first and foremost thing they do is CYA. They cover their own little butts. And so they give this advice, and they think they're giving good legal advice, and they're giving good legal advice, but they don't give it in such a way as to say, however, keep in mind, for example, here's a perfect example. My ex-husband has not been paying his child support. It's been 3 years. He never pays it. He pays what he feels like. He doesn't believe in paying child support. Should I go after him? Well, you're entitled to the child support. Your child is entitled to the child support. So yes, you should go after him. Absolutely. On the other hand, how much is it a week? How much is he not paying? How much is the lawyer going to cost? Does he really have the money and he's just not paying? Or did he lose his job and he doesn't feel like he can? The judge is going to make him pay if he can, but what if he can't? And you've spent all this money on a lawyer. A lawyer is $300 an hour, $400 an hour. How much child support is he not paying? So, you know, you really need to look at the big world picture, and don't get caught up in the moment, because it's really what happens. People get angry about little things all the time. We do, all of us do, you know. My kid left the milk on the counter for 5 hours and I wasn't home, and now the milk is undrinkable. Pissed off at that, right? Sure. But how big an issue really is it? So if you're a good parent, you put it over here. It's, you know, you're going to remonstrate with your child, but it's not the end of the world. When you're caught up in a divorce, everything's the end of the world. And the divorce lawyers don't do a good job of saying, let's look at the big picture. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Do you want to be on speaking terms with your ex? Do you want to be able, I mean, the traditional argument is, do you want to go to the same wedding with your ex? Do you want to be able, I got my daughter married last weekend.
Wow, congratulations.
Strange to say, I know. And actually it was 4321, April 3rd, 2021.
Wow.
But that's traditionally what we say. Do you want to be able to go to the wedding and be, you know, comfortable? And people don't, the lawyers in the divorce process don't usually focus their clients on the big picture, on the long term. Where do you want to be? So my client comes to me and she says, I want the house. Well, of course she wants the house. She wants the security, the safety, the neighborhood, the friends, the neighbors she knows, the school system is a good school. She wants all of that. Can she afford it? Will she be able to afford it after? Is she going to have to demand alimony? Whereas if she moved to downsize into a townhome that was actually more reasonable, would she not need alimony then? I mean, you know, look at the big picture, and what kind of fights do you want to have? Do you want to spend $100,000 fighting over alimony? And do you get it? Do you not get it? You don't know. Wait till the end of the day, then you'll find out. And the judge, by the way, is someone who doesn't know you, doesn't know your kids, doesn't know your lifestyle, doesn't know your values, may have a totally different background and make the decision from a different perspective. You don't know.
Yeah.
So why don't you make that decision? What are you willing to settle for the big picture?
Is this like conscious uncoupling? I know that term gets thrown around a lot.
That's a great question. That's actually a very good question, because it's what people think conscious uncoupling is. It is not. Conscious uncoupling is conscious uncoupling, if I understand it correctly, and I don't do it, I may not, but conscious uncoupling is where you deal with the emotional disconnection, and that's all you deal with. Collaborative divorce, and by the way, collaborative paternities and collaborative life planning, which I now offer, which is something nobody's heard of, are all processes where you have a family counselor involved, you have a financial counselor involved, and you have a lawyer involved, where There's a written agreement because people forget what they agreed to. You
Right.
forget. And so you have this agreement. The lawyers sign an agreement that they will not go to court. So now that's off the table. Now we are not going to throw that gasoline out there because that's not where we want to go. We don't want our clients to fire us and go to court. And then we have the communication expert, who's the family counselor. We've got the financial expert who can sit there and say, well, Vivian, I don't think keeping the house is a great idea, because even if he paid you alimony, it would have to be this much for you to be able to afford it. And then you've still got the headache. You're going to have to take care of the pool. Do you really want to do that? Do you want to pay someone to take care of the pool? Wouldn't it be nicer to be in a townhome where the pool is the everybody's pool and everybody takes care of it, and you've got people who come in and take care of it? You don't have a yard to maintain. You don't have, all of the things that people don't think about when they're getting divorced.
Right.
And in the collaborative process, we talk about all of that stuff.
Right. The devil is in the details. Yeah. And the details too, those little details.
Yeah.
There's that saying, it's not the elephant in the room, it's the ants in the kitchen.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I've not heard that before. Yeah.
It's those are the little things that will drive you nuts over time. And there's so much, I think, that even just witnessing my parents go through their divorce, all of the things that they didn't think through all the way. They had 5 kids.
Yeah.
And, I've seen people go through mediation, and I feel like in mediation, they do a much better job of just breaking down, like, who's got the kids on the holidays, which holidays, getting very specific.
Consider it this way then. Collaboration is mediation on steroids. People think that they might be the same thing, and they are not. Yeah. Mediation is with one neutral who helps the two of you negotiate. Collaboration is like mediation squared. It's because you've got the financial neutral who's helping you deal with the money, and you've got the mental health neutral who's there to help you communicate. And it's that communication that's key, because people have learned in their anger not to hear each other anymore. And it's crucial. You've got to be able to hear again.
Wow. This is really amazing work you're doing. I'm really excited to hear more about it. We'll have to get you on the podcast as well. I will. Please.
Or you can be on my podcast.
Okay. We can have a crossover event. Who or what inspires you creatively?
My clients, their stories, the process itself. I've written so many books because I've seen magic happen so many times. I've seen someone tell a secret that they'd been keeping close to their heart and pent in their chest, and they've been able to share it because now they felt safe to share it. And I've seen the other person get it, understand. Wow. Oh my God. I've seen people conduct ceremonies at the end of their divorces. They got married in a ceremony, and now they want to recognize the 20 years they spent together and the kids that they created together and the sanctity of the relationship that they had and the fresh start that they're starting again, the rebirth. I've seen apologies. I've seen apologies that were made and accepted in the safety of the collaborative room. It's just the magic of the process is inspiring. And my clients.
That's really inspiring, and it's moving too, just to think of how important that relationship going forward, particularly when you have kids. It really is. Another thing I don't think people consider in that fiery moment of divorce is, and our kids will be getting married and going to graduations and having all these life events and having that.
I did a divorce with no kids, and it's 20 years later. I saw the gal who I did the divorce. I stay friends with my clients. I saw her today, actually, strange to say. And once again, he called her this year on her birthday, and she called him on his birthday. It's 20 years. He's remarried. She's not. But, at the very least, they connect on their birthdays and say, they spent time together, know? And so, it's important. It's amazing. The result is amazing.
Wow. Thanks, Joryn. I really appreciate it. When is your session again?
Yeah.
When is your session this week again?
I have 2 sessions. One
Okay.
is on collaboration, and I believe it's on Friday, but I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can't read my calendar. And frankly, I think the other one is also on Friday. The other one is on marketing, which is
Cool.
what I've learned in the collaborative process, how you market collaborative process, because changing the way the world gets divorced is not an easy task.
No.
We gotta work at it.
If I've learned anything, it's that life is marketing.
Yes, that is well said. Well
Thank you
said.
so much, and
All
we'll talk
righty.
to you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Bye now.
Bye.